Hey guys, we're going to keep this video a little bit shorter today because we recapped some things in class that were in the video yesterday, and that's all right. But we want to talk a little bit more about the Constitutional Convention and what's going on there. And yesterday we had talked about their meeting in Independence Hall in Philadelphia with the stated purpose of tweaking the Articles of Confederation, but the reality is that they're going to completely scrap the Articles of Confederation and make something brand new. We mentioned that George Washington is the most important person at the convention. He presides over the convention, and you can see here in this particular portrait that he is the most recognizable figure. He's kind of isolated from the others. He's standing with his chest out in a very kind of proud manner, but also he's elevated above everybody for a specific reason. He's the most important figure there. He's presiding over the convention itself, and his words carry weight. He's the one guy who's respected more than anybody else, who universally is seen as a good guy. You can also see in this picture, there's some other important figures. In the middle, sitting in a gray suit, is Benjamin Franklin. He's one of the serious intellectuals of the group who has a lot of brain power and brings a lot of dignity as well. Franklin, one of 8 men who signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He's a guy who's been in the revolutionary movement since the beginning, and he's there helping to create a new national government. Right behind Ben Franklin is Alexander Hamilton. Okay, he's another one of these key participants. Hamilton is a guy who is the smartest guy in the room, and he knows it, and that makes him the biggest jerk in the room. And people are not very comfortable with that. He is met with a lot of suspicion, and people don't necessarily want to go along with him because he is such an intelligent figure, right? But he's so arrogant at the same time. And up there, I believe, supposedly signing the document on the desk itself is supposed to be James Madison. Madison is the official note taker at the Constitution. He writes the final wording of the Constitution. He's responsible for writing down everything at the convention. And other people aren't supposed to write down things so that word doesn't get out about what's happening. Madison, referred to as the father of the Constitution, keeps immaculate records, and he's responsible for the final wording of the Constitution itself. These 4 people in particular, Washington, Madison, Franklin, and Hamilton, were people who really saw the need for a strong national government and pushed hard to give some certain powers to to the new national government under this Constitution. Okay, so you have these 4 men who are there and they're very relevant, but also you have to remember out of the 55 men are at the convention, this is the upper crust of society, the elite. You got Revolutionary War heroes, you have the wealthy plantation owners represented, you have doctors and lawyers, individuals who are well known throughout the country and well respected. Some of the best and brightest minds who want to make sure that this new constitution gives us a legitimate national government that can do the things we need it to do without being too strong. Okay? And that's a big part of this. Now, other than the key participants at the convention, something that's important are the people who are not there. Thomas Jefferson, absent. He was in France as an ambassador at the time. And it was kind of important in a way that Jefferson's not there because he hated the idea of a strong national government, and he might have been someone who threw a monkey wrench into the works. Right? John Adams is not there. Patrick Henry turned down an invitation because he understood what was happening there and he didn't want any part of it. He didn't like the idea of a strong national government either. So there were some big names who weren't there. Okay. These people at the convention, though, they were worried about a strong national government, and so they're debating for months on how to create this government. And you can see right here, this is more or less what the inside of Independence Hall would have looked like when they were writing the Constitution in 1787. Okay, one of the things they could agree upon at the convention was that since we're afraid of a national government, let's divide up the power of the national government into 3 distinct branches, right? And that's where we get our concept of the legislative, executive, and judicial, okay? Now, we love to think that America comes up with all the good ideas about government and anything really. But the truth is, we borrowed this from a French philosopher by the name of Montesquieu. And Montesquieu believed that one of the ways you could prevent this government from being too tyrannical was to make sure that they all had a different job and that those jobs relied on one another. We'll talk about the concept of checks and balances later on, but legislative, executive, and judicial, one makes the laws, one branch enforces the laws, another one judges disputes about the law. All right. Now, we'll stop right there, but there's some other things we want to mention. I dropped a couple of documents in your folder for today, and there are two constitutions. The first one we want to look at is the Massachusetts State Constitution. Okay. One thing I want you to notice is it, it's written in the year 1780, and that is way before, 7 years before the U.S. Constitution was written. Massachusetts has the longest consecutively used constitution in existence today. Now, they've edited it a lot, but you're going to see some really interesting things, some aspects about it. Their preamble, notice that here in the first paragraph, it says the end of the institution, maintenance, and administration of government is to secure the existence of the body politic, meaning the people, to protect it and to furnish those individuals with the power of enjoying in safety their natural rights. All right. Ultimately, they're referencing John Locke. Okay, that the reason the government exists is to make sure that people can exercise their rights and enjoy life. And when these objects are not obtained by the people have a right to alter the government. Okay, that's another John Locke reference. All right. The body politic is formed by a voluntary association of individuals. It's a social compact. All right. They use that phrase. We would call it a social contract today, but that's what a compact is, by which the whole of the people covenants with each citizen and each citizen with the whole people, that all shall be governed by certain laws for the common good. All right. This term covenant is important because it goes beyond just a typical promise or a typical contract. Today, we only tend to use that word covenant when describing a marriage, okay? And marriage is not something that we take lightly or should take lightly. So they're saying, hey, people are in a covenant, like this big agreement, this bond, each citizen with the whole people and the whole people with the citizen, okay? It's the duty of the people, therefore, to provide an equitable mode of making laws, okay? As well as an impartial interpretation and the execution of them. All right. So what? You're getting more John Locke here. Social compact, covenant with everybody. Okay. Something else that's relevant too. Take a look at this. I love this right here. We the people of Massachusetts, acknowledging with grateful hearts the goodness of the great legislator of the universe. If you haven't guessed it, great legislator with a capital L, who is the great lawgiver of the universe? Well, that's God, of course. Now, something else that's relevant too, because we skip over this sometimes. In this sentence, take out the word therefore. It's not we, therefore, the people of Massachusetts. We, the people, right? If you don't know the U.S. Constitution, those are the first three words, we, the people, right? And that's meaningful. There's nothing arbitrary in this document, arbitrary meaning random. Everything that is written in this Constitution and the U.S. Constitution is done so on purpose. And we the people means it's a reflection of John Locke saying that ultimately the consent of the governed matters. The people made the government, therefore people retain the ultimate authority. Okay? All right, that's relevant to us. Now, after the preamble, they put a Declaration of Rights. Okay? Every state constitution has a Declaration of Rights. And some of these are unique to Massachusetts, but you're going to recognize some of them. All right. For example, let's take a look at Article 14. Every subject has a right to be secure from unreasonable searches and seizures in his house, his papers, and all his possessions. All right. Does that sound familiar? No unreasonable searches and seizures? It should. It's in the United States Constitution in the Fourth Amendment. The liberty of the press is essential to the security of freedom of the state and should not be restrained. Oh, look at this one. The people have a right to keep and bear arms. That sounds familiar too, all right? The people have a right in an orderly and peaceable manner to consult upon the common good and give instructions to their representatives and request by way of addresses, petitions, and remonstrances the redress of things done wrong to them. You got a right to complain to the government. The freedom of speech is mentioned here. Okay. You don't tax people without the consent of the people or their representatives. Right. Other things that might sound familiar. No magistrate or court shall demand excessive bails, impose excessive fines, or inflict cruel or unusual punishment. In no time should no time of peace, no soldier should be quartered in any house. Right? If all these sound familiar, it's because you find them in the U.S. Constitution. Right? But here's the thing: this was written in 1780, the Massachusetts Constitution. Okay? The U.S. Constitution is not written until 1787. And to make a long story short, the U.S. Constitution took ideas from Massachusetts and other states, right? And where did Massachusetts and other states get these ideas? Like, for example, why would Massachusetts gripe about this? No quartering. You can't be forced to quarter in your house any soldier. And the answer is like this stuff is these rights that you have, these are things that the British government was doing to them. The British government was forcing them to quarter them. The British government was charging them taxes without their consent. Okay, uh, the the British were not allowing them to make a petition for their grievances or to have the freedom of speech. All right, and so that's why they put it in their constitution. All right, that's a listing of their rights. Okay, and we thought them so important that when we come together to write the Constitution, we put them in the national Constitution as well. Okay, now we'll look at the U.S. Constitution a little bit more tomorrow in detail and compare it with Massachusetts.